When Donald Trump is in charge, all that counts is ability, effort, and excellence.
Ivanka Trump may be the most prominent voice in the Trump White House, particularly on issues pertaining to women. Perhaps in light of that, a new poll shows Ivanka is the most popular White House advisor. Take a look at these results here. 46% of voters have a favorable view of her. 36% don't. Look at Kellyanne Conway, the second most liked, I should say, with 30% favoring her. Hillary Clinton returning to the speaking circuit and talking about her election defeat.
It is fair to say, as you just did, Nick, that certainly misogyny played a role. I mean, that just has to be admitted. And why and what the underlying reasons were is what I'm trying to parse out myself.
Joining me now is Susan Bordo. She's the author of a book. It's called The Destruction of Hillary Clinton, in which she analyzes what she believes worked against Hillary in her presidential campaign. Susan, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Chanel. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. You say the biggest mistake Hillary Clinton made, in your opinion, was to allow the media to shape her narrative. What could she have done differently, and what did you mean by that?
Well, I think you underestimate your own power and persuasiveness. I don't really consider it a mistake that Hillary made. I think that once the emails became the overriding focus of attention, generously aided and abetted by GOP feeding red meat to the media, and then of course aided by Comey, a couple of very well-timed, from the point of the GOP announcements, there really wasn't much he could do. The narrative was so compelling. We kept returning to it, repeating to it over and over and over, that it became nailed in people's minds. And I think in particular, when it was revived just 11 days before the election by James Comey, and at a very, very key moment, a moment when Donald Trump's Access Hollywood tapes had just been released. Many women had come forward accusing him of sexual groping. His numbers were going down. Republicans were quitting ship. It didn't look good for him. And then Comey came on board and revived all of the questions about Hillary's trustworthiness that had been so concentrated on during the course of the campaign.
And Susan, with that said, you've written that the media was preoccupied with optics and didn't separate necessarily facts from rumors, lies, and speculation. Let's look at a Trump campaign rally. This is 2 days before the election. Take a look at this.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States.
It's all coming back to me, the chance, about locking her up. How did the optics work against Clinton?
Oh my gosh. Well, of course, you've shown the most extreme version, but it was a very powerful version because people were goaded on by Trump to see Hillary as a criminal. That convention footage that you showed was just, the pinnacle of incitement of the crowds to see Hillary as a witch, a bitch, a criminal, and notice the language. When Hillary talked before about misogyny, bitch, witch, those are very powerful misogynistic images.
Andrew Sullivan, the conservative anti-Trump writer, posted really a blistering commentary yesterday in New York Magazine. He said Hillary lost the Electoral College in spite of having the backing of the entire Democratic establishment, winning the popular vote by almost 3 million, and running against someone with what he calls stratospheric negatives. And then he writes, quote, "And so I find myself wondering at odd times of the day and night, why is Trump in the White House? And then I remember Hillary Clinton put him there." Ooh. Did she simply run an incompetent campaign that spent too much time and money in states that she couldn't win while sacrificing states like Michigan and Wisconsin?
Well, I know that the current thinking, the narrative, is that Hillary ran an incompetent campaign. I don't happen to subscribe to that narrative. I think that let's talk for a minute. I think that let's talk for a minute about those states. For one thing, she did visit a number of them throughout the course of her campaign, and she was the first to show up and worry about the Michigan water crisis. But then, too, when you imagine the view of Hillary that is being presented to the people in what has been referred to as the working class, one of the things we forget is that people in the working class work. Yeah. They get up in the morning, they go to work, they come back at night. They hear whatever sound bites and watch whatever tickers are on the TV in the morning and later on. And what they got were fragments lifted out of context. What they got was what Hillary herself described as a person who would become, by the end of the campaign, Typhoid Mary. She began with an approval rating of 64%, which is kind of extraordinary.
It's one of those things. I'm out of time, but Susan, it's one of those conversations I think we're going to be having for months and years and decades to come, really, what happened with this campaign.
I agree.
Susan Bordo, thank you for your time on this Saturday.
Absolutely.
And that wraps up this hour of MSNBC Live. Up next with Richard Louie, a look at North Korea's military might. Just how formidable is Kim Jong-un's weapons of war? I'm Chanel Jones. Have a great day.